Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots. Bootlegger shows definitely so expensive vessels, opinions. I'm Useful Idiot, welcome. And I'm continuing my series, my roundup, talking about banker scum and corporate scum. And this video's target is going to be Citigroup. And I already mentioned some startling facts about Citigroup in a previous video. And I've done videos on Citigroup before. They're one of the kings of pay and walk away. And I'll get to more of that later. But one thing I mentioned in the previous video is this story that came out recently about their invisible subsidiaries. And as I talked about that entire topic before, creating these overseas tax havens, tax shelters, and these puppet companies and these proxy companies and these subsidiaries. In Citigroup's case, they had in 2008 they had 2,245 subsidiaries, and this is at the time of the crash of Citigroup, and operating in 160 countries. But since then, their subsidiaries have been reduced by 91.8%. And but as I mentioned before, their holding assets are $4 billion more than they were in 2009. So they're roughly the same. In 2009, their holding assets were $1.85 trillion, and in 2014, their holding assets are $1.89 trillion. So they're essentially the same size company with the same amount of assets, and yet 91.8% of their subsidiaries are now invisible. And of course, that serves tax purposes. So they went from 2,245 subsidiaries in 2008 to 187 in 2009 to 184 in 2013. And even the infamous lava flow dark pool, which I've mentioned in previous videos, and this is where Citigroup buys and sells back its own stock, manipulates its own stock prices, manipulates its market, all not overseen, no oversight, and no regulation. These dark pools and lava flow, one of their dark pools, I think they have 4, disappeared in 2009. So that's one story about Citigroup, and there's a good example of how Citigroup hates America, because of course they're shifting all their profits overseas in these tax shelters and saving themselves from contributing billions into the tax pool for the government here in the United States. And since Citigroup isn't paying into that, that means the U.S. taxpayer, you and me, are paying into that to make up for the taxes that Citigroup doesn't pay. And that seems ironic, because you'd think Citigroup would want us taxpayers to be really, really rich and have lots of money so that we'll have free cash available for the next time that Citigroup needs their sorry ass bailed out. And so there's that. But then there's another story that came out a couple days ago, August 26th, and Citigroup was charged with cheating its customers on fair prices on preferred trades. And they were not only caught doing that, they were caught doing that 22,000 times. And all they got was a $1.85 million fine, and they had to pay $638,000 in restitution. And of course, as usual, neither deny or admit to it. So that way they can use this as a tax write-off as well, even that meager fine that they paid. But it turns out FINRA has levied fines on Citigroup 408 times for trading violations, market manipulations, failure to supervise their traders. 408 times. And yet we have a bank or a company, like so many others, that is paying and walking away, is completely involved in criminal act after criminal act, can get these deferred prosecutions and neither deny or admit it. And nobody goes to jail. Nobody goes to jail. And it's not like they don't have a heads up for Citigroup. Let me remind you, first of all, that one reason why I, as an American citizen, have a right to complain about Citigroup is because let's remember that in October 2008, Citigroup got $25 billion in TARP bailout money. And then several months later, or I think it was even the next month, November 2008, they got another $20 billion in bailout TARP money. And then the United States government also gave them $306 billion in asset guarantees. And they got, secretly, we found out later, they got $2 trillion in below market loans. And thanks to the Fed. And then, of course, the Fed has been pouring money into Citigroup ever since. And so American taxpayers on the hook, and regardless of the fact that they've whittled down what they've owed the public, at least on paper, the fact is that they owe the country, and I realize the whole bailout thing was all a game and smoke and mirrors, but that said, it's still in the public record as a massive bailout with taxpayer money of companies like Citigroup. And so for them to continually come up with these transgressions against citizens who are using their services for investment or anything else. And to put it in context, let's kind of go over a quick list. And the story is attached below for those who want to read it. But here's just a highlight of a litany of the last several years of Citigroup and how they've shown that they hate America, because they'll take American taxpayer money to bail their sorry ass out, but they continually find new ways to screw as many people in America, American citizens and foreign citizens for that matter, out of money left and right. So in 2002, they were fined $215 million for deceptive and abusive lending practices. 2003, they were fined $400 million for fraudulent stock research. In 2004, they were fined $70 million for fraudulent handling of subprime loans. 2005, they were fined $208 million in improper mutual fund transactions. 2005, they were fined $25 million for manipulating the euro bond market. 2008, they were fined $1.66 billion for aiding and abetting the Enron debacle, another criminal activity. 2008, they were fined for illegal account sweeping. 2008, they were fined $30 billion. Well, they actually did $30 billion in buybacks for fraudulent securities sold, mostly to Fannie and Freddie. 2009, they were fined $2.65 billion for settlement with the WorldCom investors, another criminal action. 2010, they were fined $75 million for misleading investors about mortgage exposure. 2011, they were fined $285 million for misleading investors. In 2012, they were fined $2.2 billion for the foreclosure fraud settlement. 2012, they were fined $590 million for a class action lawsuit about misleading investors. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't they get fined for that before? 2013, billed $968 million for selling toxic loans to Fannie Mae. Hey, that sounds familiar too. 2013, $395 million for selling toxic loans to Freddie Mac. 2013, fined $295 million for the derivative scam. And then if that wasn't enough, of course, we have the slam bam finish this year, 2014, with the U.S. Department strutting about with their $7 billion settlement with Citigroup for selling toxic mortgages to investors, which is kind of interesting when you look at the fact that half of these fines have to do with mortgage abuse and toxic assets and misleading investors. It's all intertwined, and those go back well before the financial collapse itself in 2008. Going all the way back to 2002. So it seems like they had 6 years' notice that Citigroup was involved in all this criminal activity, all this fraudulent activity, all this fraudulent securities, fraudulent mortgages, and the whole debacle. And yet we still have them end up ponying up here in 2014 for more of it. And the U.S. Justice Department and all the rest acting like it came as a surprise when all this unfolded. So there's some pretty actual proof, as far as I'm concerned, that Citigroup hates America. And I think for a long time America hated Citigroup, but that seems to be wearing off. But I'm trying to fan the embers into a fire again, because the banker scum are still out there. You're not reading about them, but they're still out there. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.